I feel that resumes are dead. In the next 1 year, on the careers page, you will not have apply now button. You will have start interview buttons. And now you put an AI, they don't feel judged. Candidates can rate the interview and also give a small line of feedback to us after they complete an interview.
Around 70,000 interviews conducted, they did a research, and they found out that 78% of the applicants actually chose the AI interviewer.
AI interviews are async. It's not a calendar scheduled event. Now this candidate can go home, freshen up, relax, and then give the interview at 9 o'clock in the night if they prefer to do that.
I've seen people sort of get a little itchy and finicky about, hey, there's going to be biasness, it'll make mistakes.
To be honest, there is bias.
On your LinkedIn, you've recently written, do candidates actually like giving interviews to AI? The short answer is yes. And here's what you're saying on GoodFit right now. NPS at a 66. The common feedback is smooth, clear, friendly, an amazing experience. And you've also quoted research with around 70,000 interviews conducted, they did a research. And they found out that 78% of the applicants actually chose the AI interviewer when given the option. Now, why I want to start with this, Rohit, is because these goes against our conventional thinking that people don't like talking to an AI, people want to talk to a human, especially when you're doing something so high stakes like interviews. Like, what's the reason for this? Like, why does this contrarian kind of outcomes coming out, which is given by stats? What does it actually tell us about the candidate psychology during interviews? What do we know that's wrong?
It actually surprised us as well when we started getting initial feedback. So how it works on our platform is right after a candidate completes an interview, we give them an option to rate the interview and also give us a quick feedback note on what they felt. And I have posted a screenshot of that on the same LinkedIn post. Firstly, one thing I want to highlight is that interviews are really high stress kind of situations, right? I see candidates who are visibly nervous when they start, and within a minute or 2 minutes, they realize that, okay, I'm not being constantly judged by how I look and what expressions I have on my face.
They know that they're giving an interview with an AI, right?
They
With
know
all
they're
of
giving
this.
an interview. I'm hoping to show you a quick demo of an interview as well, right? So they just see a
Exactly.
waveform that an AI is asking questions to them. If you think about it, the AI is only interested in the context and the content of your answers. It's asking a question. How is your answer relevant to that particular context of the question, right? So it's very simple for the candidates, and it takes time. We see candidates also learning with time, right? And with the current generation of interviews and candidates, they're all pretty much digital native. They're very comfortable speaking in front of the camera, and remove the person and now you put an AI, they don't feel judged. The other important thing I feel is that AI interviews are async. When I say async, it's not a calendar scheduled event, right? Interviews on our platform are basically a link, and the candidate can start the interview whenever they are free, right? I'm sure you would have seen this. Many interviews actually happen between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock during lunch breaks when they're in their current role, right? So now the same candidate can go home, freshen up, relax, and then give the interview at 9 o'clock in the night if they prefer to do that. In fact, we see a lot of interviews starting at 8 p.m. in the night, go on till
It's
9, 10, 11.
powerful, right? Like you are
It's very powerful.
that person is comfortable. You're putting that person at a comfort zone and maximizing their chances. Yeah, amazing. That's a great point. Okay.
So that's very important. The async nature of it really helps the candidate be in the right space time zone to actually give the interview. They quickly realize that they will get evaluated on what they say and not really how they say it. When we invite candidates to the platform to take interviews, we actually prepare them for an AI interview because we know that most of them are giving an interview to an AI bot for the first time, right? AI loves answers in a predictable format in terms of examples, numbers, not really too verbose. We have had candidates for a very simple question, the most common question that you can think of. Can you introduce yourself? We've had a candidate speak for 8 minutes. Now, obviously, an AI is not going to like that, right? So we've had to build in these things for the candidates to actually learn how to ace an AI interview as well. So as much as we want to help companies automate a lot of their screenings and interviews for the first round, we also want to help candidates give their best in the first round as well, right? So we help prepare them as well. And yeah, the research paper that you published, this is not actually India research data. This was actually conducted in the Philippines, and Philippines probably does mirror some of Indian demographies in
Very
terms of
same, I've heard.
job
Yeah.
data, right? They have a lot of KPO, kind of industry as well. So this was done in that context. About 70,000 odd candidates were actually asked, do you prefer an AI interviewer or a human interviewer? And many of them, like a overwhelming majority of them, chose the AI interviewer. And the resulting outcome of these were also much better than if it was a human interviewer. So I think the shift is here and real. And one more thing that I want to quickly highlight is that today you post a job on LinkedIn, you probably get 300 resumes in a couple of days, right?
Yeah.
And very objectively, how many does a recruiter end up picking up the phone and speaking to, right? Even to schedule the
Tiny,
first round,
tiny
it's a
percent.
tiny amount.
Yeah.
So now when you change that dynamic and out of these 300 folks, let me send an AI interview link to 200 of them or 150 of them. And I'm making a strong prediction here very soon. I don't know how soon, maybe in the next 1 year. I feel that on the careers page, you will not have apply now buttons. You will have start
Oh,
interview
yeah.
buttons,
That's a very good
right?
idea. Yeah.
So imagine that as a barrier, right? Like today, what is happening is LinkedIn is making it very easy to apply as well with their easy apply and everyone. So everyone's just clicking apply, apply, moving on, right?
From the recruiter side, people actually don't want that. We don't have an
They
option,
don't want
so
that.
we do it. We
Yeah.
actually want a filtered apply
A
now
filtered
versus,
apply now.
yeah.
So I feel that
Mm.
resume, again, another statement, but I feel that resumes are dead, right? So
100%. Yeah.
replace that with AI interviews on your career website itself. Candidates will prepare, they will go through the JD, they will research about the company before they actually apply. And all of these are good things for both the candidate and for the recruitment team, right? So I feel that overall, AI interviews are here to stay. We still see some recruitment teams worried about bias and things like that, and we'll talk about that as well.
Sure.
But largely, if I apply to 10 roles and if I get an AI interview link for 8 of them, I feel like I have a shot. I have a chance at actually showcasing who I am and what I can bring to the table, which if I was doing a standard, regular kind of a operation, if I apply for 10 roles, I might get a call back from two, right?
Yeah.
So this is basically what we are seeing at GoodFit.
Awesome. By the way, that idea is really good. Like instead of apply now, just get everyone to, just do a video call with
And
an AI.
yeah,
It's amazing.
you would have seen
Mm.
this. A lot of job descriptions, just to put a barrier to entry, they say record a video of yourself talking about why you
Mm.
want this role, right? I'm just
Mm.
saying make that the norm.
So, like, I take around 10 to 15 around interviews, like on like in 3 4 days in a week, probably more, for my roles. And there are times, unfortunately, sadly, I get on an interview in 5 minutes. I know this is not the right fit. And then you're there on the call, right? You can't disrespect the person and drop off in 5 minutes. So, if you make small talk and 30 40
Yeah,
minutes, and I'm not saying like my time is more valuable than that person's. That person's time is also equally valuable, right? Versus if this was an AI interview, and I just know at this point, right? So we wouldn't have to come on the call and waste each other's time, basically,
100%.
right?
And you're right. There
Uh,
is actually enough research that suggests that within the 5 or maybe even 10 minutes of an interview, the decision is already made.
yeah,
The rest of the 20 minutes that is scheduled is just going through the
yeah,
motion, but the decision making is already
yeah.
95% done at the interviewer level. That is the other piece that we can discuss about, which is
Hmm.
humans versus AI as interviewers themselves.
Yeah,
As much as we try to build a framework for interviewing, there is obviously some amount of bias that can creep in a human interview, which does not happen in an AI interview.
so think about when people talk of biases, and we'll get into it. Is people say that AI has biases. My follow up always to them is, don't you have
Yeah,
100 biases yourself, right? Especially in our country, we have biases, or they're a very holistic 360 degree of biases that we all carry. So just coming back, to that stat, that 78%. Um, is there like a demographic skew to this? Is it more like Gen Zs and the younger
yeah.
folks appreciating this?
So
For sure, right?
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And it also is because of where you see a lot more volume of applicants because there are more entry level jobs than say senior manager and above roles, right? So
Okay.
most of the data is in the 0 to 4 years of work experience, you could say.
Clearly, AI is doing something better. I think we can all agree that the AI interviews are working better because candidates find it more, they're more honest, they can be more open, they're not being judged. So, is there for folks listening in who take interviews, and I'm sure there are hundreds of people listening in who take interviews, is there like a sort of learning we can synthesize for them as interviewers, human interviewers, that you can actually learn from these AI bots? And if you actually do it in your real life, you actually got to have a more productive interview. Because let's be honest, everybody as an interviewer wants to have a good interview. They want the candidates to be at ease. They want the candidate to do their best. But because of multiple reasons, that doesn't happen, and you end up losing a good candidate. So, can we do this? Can we sort of synthesize the learnings that you learned from the AI interviewer that the human as an interviewer can sort of learn that will maximize sort of the interview experience?
I've been in the HR space for a while, and I speak with a lot of HRs, and there are some things that just get overlooked. And in interviews, one thing that gets overlooked quite often, especially in smaller setups and startups who are growing rapidly, is just the competency framework for interviewing,
Mm.
right? I think that's the first step. Uh, and if you go one
100%.
more step behind, it's the JD itself. There are many JDs that are not really fully fleshed out in terms
Yeah.
of the roles, responsibilities, requirements, and so on. But let's say now it's very easy to create a JD, right? Like you can make a good JD using a lot of AI tools. But then they can go just spend another 10, 15 minutes and actually build out that competency framework, which will act like the template for the interview itself, for the person who's taking the interview. The second thing that we've seen is just too many interview rounds sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Companies also do this, so that also hampers candidate experience. If you don't have a competency framework and then you do too many interviews, the candidate is sitting and saying the same things to a new person
Again and again. Yeah.
again and again, right? That hampers candidate experience a lot. The third thing is, I would say, people over-index on resumes and the content of the resumes sometimes. It could be either the educational background or some big company names, and they don't really go into exactly what the person did at that particular place. You're enamored by some of the names on the resume, and then you might lose context. So that's something that I've seen as well. Lastly, I don't want to say it, but interviewing is also a little bit of an art. Let's
Yeah.
be honest. Like, of course, at a hiring manager level, it becomes part of your KRA and you need to do it. But everyone else is kind of just stuffed with, okay, you need to do interviews. So they don't like taking interviews, because of which they don't really develop the art of taking interviews, or, how do I structure my interview and so on. So I think recruitment teams need to do a lot more in terms of just interviewer training, maybe even run some recognition programs for best interviewers, right?
Yeah, we used to do that. The same thing. No, one metric was who took the most amount of interviews, but that's, it gives 50% of the picture. The other one is who's taking the most successful interviews. We arrived at that number. Like, okay, if you've taken the first round, there's like say 80% chance that the person actually joins. That means you are really good at filtering. So we arrived at that, and we are recognizing those people. This is back in 21 when you had to hire like 100 people in a week.
Yeah,
We used to publish on town halls and all of that using the
correct.
like Slack channels and all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just thought I'll pitch in for folks listening in. Really useful. Motivate people.
It's important to find people who love taking interviews, right? That
Um,
is what I meant by art of interviews, right? Like
yeah,
you need
correct.
to
Yeah.
put the person or the candidate in a place where they're comfortable to speak very
Mm.
candidly,
Mm.
openly, and share their experience, because that is what the other thing that I want to say is interviews are also stories, right?
Correct.
At the end of the day. So there is two parts. There is
Mm.
interviews where there are stories, and then there are assessments, which are
Mm.
more signals, right? So you do assessments to kind of figure out, okay, the kind of competencies and the capability to a depth of things, right? So you need to combine both of these, the stories and the signals, with interviews and assessments. So that's why I said interviewing is an art. Assessment is, straightforward user tool to do it, right? So that's how I would put it.
One of the things I've seen people sort of get a little itchy and finicky about is that, hey, there's going to be biasness, it'll make mistakes, right? And all those things. You've been at the thick of this, you've seen this up close. How do you want to counter that if you feel that it needs countering? How do you counter to this person who's on the edge, that biasness, hey, and all of that?
To be honest, there is bias, right? And when I say bias, bias exists both, as we said, like both with AI tools and human interviews, right? So, which is why I always think that AI interviews are a good tool to shortlist candidates, right? It's essentially a
Hmm.
filter. It's not a selection tool. It's a
Hmm.
shortlisting tool. And you're trying to assess if the candidate has certain competencies that you are looking for. In that case, you can very clearly define the guidelines, the guardrails, rather, in what you want to ask, how you want to assess it. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say I'm using an AI interviewing tool, and I need to understand, the depth of this candidate in, let's say, front end skills, for example. So I could kind of create a few questions around it, saying describe certain projects that you built and ask follow up questions based on what the candidate responds. Now I can make this itself like a 10-minute conversation, or I could make this a 5-minute conversation, depending on the candidate's responses and how much he's able to share with me, right? Now this same interview might be scored 7 on 10, let's say, for where I work, right? And it could be an 8 on 10 for, let's say, company A, and a 9 on 10 for company B, right? Now, the bias is also necessarily from what kind of level you're looking for from a hiring bar, right? So biases exist in multiple ways. So what we might think as bias can actually be a hiring bar, right? For some companies, in my opinion, right? So
Makes sense.
what is important is to define the framework. So when we onboard a customer, we tell them, okay, can we define what is a 6 on 10, what is a 7 on 10, what is an 8 on 10, 9 on 10, and 10 on 10, right? So we are like defining the guardrails of what this company is looking for with this AI interview or an assessment, right? And that's the first step in trying to eliminate bias. I will not say there is 100% elimination of bias, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to anchor the score basis what the candidate is saying, right? So that's one thing. I feel the bigger problem is actually on the other side with candidates cheating. To be honest with you, we do a lot of campus interviews, right? In a day, we've done like in a 20-minute span, I've done 700 interviews, for example, right? 60% of them cheated. We run proctoring to figure out, how if the candidate is actually copy pasting or reading directly from, say, a chat GPT and so on and so forth. So I think biases exist, sure, but for me, the bigger problem to solve is candidate cheating at this time, to be honest, because to a large extent, you can put guardrails for bias. And as we discussed, there is no reason why humans are not biased, right? Like, let's say I'm a recruiter, and on a Monday morning, I have 500 resumes to screen, and I screen them very well. And imagine I have 500 resumes to screen on a Friday evening at 4 o'clock. Uh, which pile of resumes do you think I have given more focus to, right?
Sort of fear, I think, is more that correct people, good
Hmm.
people are getting lost versus
Hmm.
bad people are going through. Because, like you said, people who are the bad actors eventually get caught. At least in my experience, my also worry, and this I'm saying a year back, was that what if good people actually get filtered out by the AI, get
Hmm.
rejected by the AI?
Yeah.
Uh, then I'm just losing good candidates, right? I think that is slightly easier, right? Because if you're saying the right things, why would the AI sort of
Yeah.
stop you?
This is where the HR of HR side of me and then the HR tech side of me kind of clash a little bit, right? I have 200 candidates. I need to fill one role.
Hmm.
Am I looking for 200 perfect interviews to conduct, or am I
Correct.
looking to
Yeah.
close that one role as quickly as possible with the
Hmm.
right candidate? So, and that's the kind of clash. What do I
Hmm.
optimize for? Do I optimize for 200 perfect interviews, Or do I build a process where I am able to surface the top 20 candidates and who fit my criteria, and I'm able to hire one who goes through all my rounds, which is not just the AI interview round, which is also the human rounds thereafter, right? And if I'm able to do that in one fourth the time and cost, then okay, what do I value more, right? And the HR tech
Yeah.
business side of me says, let's go with this, right? I need to
Yeah.
hire
Of course.
because I have
Yeah.
business pressure to close these roles, right?
Yeah.
So that's the debate, internal debate for me as well.
So using the tool, using the AI solutions in the right context for the right roles, for the right reasons, I think is also super important.
100%, absolutely.
Yeah.
This works where you have volume, right? This works where you have. I have companies who come to us who sign up on our platform and they get 20 applications for a role. I, I tell them, you don't
Yeah.
need an AI interview.
Yeah.
You really don't need this, right? Sure, you can use, I have psychometric assessments as well. So maybe after you do the interviews, you can use the psychometric assessments to understand and profile these people a little bit more. So the roles, the number of resumes, the volume, all of those matter to do AI interviews.
Got it. That's very useful info for folks listening in. All right, we've spoken a lot about the product, right? Would love to maybe see the product in action. And before we get into that, yeah, I was always curious about how founders find the problem statement, right? We know the problem statement now, but was there an anchor that something happened and you're like, hey, this is the product that needs to be built. Here's the problem, and with whatever's happening in the world, we feel that this is the great problem to solve right now. So would love to understand your why behind this and then get into the product.
There are only two categories of products in HR tech which can make money. Okay. My
Hi- Hiring is one.
I think it is one of it, right? And prior to this, I built a payroll tool. So
That's the other
payroll
one.
is that's the other one, right? So payroll is pretty much it's you have to do it, right? You have one employee or you have 1,000 employees. It's a
Yeah.
non-negotiable thing, right? So you have to do it. So was part of a payroll tool prior to this, scaled that, exited that, and then realized, okay, what next? And then obviously AI was like, they used to say software is eating the world. I think now AI is eating the world, right? The biggest application of AI in HR tech and the only proven application of AI in HR tech as of today is
Hiring.
recruitment and hiring.
Yeah.
People say we have AI in this, AI in that, and everything else in the HR tech space.
Yeah.
I am not fully
Good.
convinced. It's yeah, it's
Yeah.
not as
Good to have.
clearly proven. It's good
Yeah.
to have,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the real ROI, I would say, is in the recruitment space, and
Yeah.
it's another space where probably you can actually sell and people buy, right, compared to the other HR tech products. So that's another reason. Plus, it's also a challenge that I have faced myself. I've had to build teams of 80, 100, 200 people in the past. And I've been an HR as well early in my HR days. We used to, if you remember, I don't know if it still exists, but there used to be a role called recruitment coordinator. Their
Yeah. It
only
still
job
exists.
still exists. Their
Yeah.
only job is to schedule
Yeah.
interviews, right? When we started this, obviously, we were very unsure. We, did a few pilots, and there was luckily some customers who trusted us, and we were able to build along with them with their feedback. But it's been a natural kind of growth since then, right? Like we started with AI interviews. Now we are doing a lot more assessments as well. And I was lucky to join Prashant, who actually started GoodFit. He was building this. He actually started building an AI services company, and he also saw this, and that's how this entire thing came about, right? So he was the ex CTO at Jiva. He's built very large technical teams at Jiva as well. So he's faced this problem immensely as well, right? So that's how all of this came about, and since then we've been working together to kind of build in the assessment space using AI, and we want to kind of help with shortlisting candidates using different types of assessments, AI video interviews being one of them, right? So that's basically the backstory.
Got it. Cool. I think that's a good segue to actually see the product.
I told you that candidates can rate the interview and also give a small line of feedback to us after they complete an interview.
Can you zoom in a little, maybe? Oh, this is an app. It won't be able to. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, but basically here you can see this candidate has rated the interviews as okay. Interview was good, but the voice was not very audible, which made it difficult. So there's something that we have to solve for because of sometimes the background noise, etc. It can get difficult. This is a good platform. Interview is good. Great. Looking forward. Feels good. Very nice. Very efficient. Accurate AI interview. The interview went clearly. Excited for the results. This is the other part. They actually feel like they have a shot. As I said, they're able to put across their candidacy. This is the best interview that I've never seen, and I loved it. Yes, it's good, smooth. Questions are also pretty accurate. Uh, Sometimes again there are issues which we have to, there is always that 1% of errors that will come for multiple reasons. Sometimes uh,
Of course.
the AI, yeah. So if there is even there was one incident where the AI wouldn't ask the follow-up question even though the candidate stopped answering, and candidate was frustrated. Then we actually went back to the video and we tried to figure out what happened, and he had this very loud fan running in the background. So the AI was actually picking up that sound and thinking that the candidate is saying something or speaking something. So there are these corner cases and edge cases that need solving. Um, Interview process is clear, quite smooth, good interface, so on and so forth, right? So we get, all sorts of uh, comments, feedback. Many people write to us on email as well, because we have the support email right there, so they can reach out to us. We also give them a WhatsApp button so that they can chat with us if they face any issues, and we give them support as well. So we get feedback across the
That's
board,
nice.
and
Okay.
mostly it's been very positive, right? Like our candidate NPS is now upwards of 70 even, so which I didn't expect. I also feel that there is again, just being it's psychology, right? I feel that some candidates may give a good feedback because they don't want to give a bad feedback,
Yeah.
because it's also
Fair
the
enough.
power dynamics here at play to an extent. So how much is what is, something that we will learn, understand, do more, and do better as well.
Yeah.
But largely the comments, and we do, we speak with candidates ourselves. So the feedback has been quite good. Yeah. So this is a quick dashboard of, what we have. So you can see the number of open jobs. Yeah, you can see the number of open jobs, the total number of interviews that have happened in this demo account, the number of good fits and poor fits. So the name good fit comes from basically whenever you speak with a candidate and walk out of that conversation, you kind of think, okay, I think this person is a good fit for us, right? So that's where the name good fit comes from. Now, here you can see the different navigation tools. So let's go ahead and
How
create a
how are you
job.
understanding who's good fit, or is that something we'll get into?
We are going to get into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
So let's go to jobs and let's create a job, right? So let's create an HR executive, right? Because I think uh, let's make it a remote role. I'll just create some dummy skills and tools that might be used, but obviously you can add, the tools that you use at your org. There could be some additional tags that are internal. I'll also either I can upload my JD via PDF file, or I'll just or copy paste. For now, I'll just generate a dummy JD using AI. Let's give it a second, and it should give me some sort of a JD, and we just need to fill in the years of experience here. So let's say I'm looking for someone with 3 years of experience in HR management, recruitment, or talent acquisition. There's an icebreaker question. The most common question is, could you start by briefly introducing yourself, right? Like, so let's leave that for now. Now, once I click on review job details, and that's why I was saying that the JD is very important, because basis the JD, we automatically create a few competencies with weightages for that particular role, right? So now here for this JD, we have come up with recruitment process management, employee engagement, data analysis and reporting. There is a primary question and a follow-up question, right? And there are weightages. So let's say for me, recruitment process is probably more important. I'm going to make that 50% weightage and make data analysis and reporting as 20%, for example, right? So I can play around with this. I can add new competencies if required. I can also add more questions under each competency. I can also define an ideal response. or give, like, as I was saying, some sort of a guardrail to understand how to rate the response of the candidate, right? Like, I could literally put in must have, good to have, rate very highly for these skills or these mentions and so on, right? So I can define an ideal response as well. Uh, so there is a primary question and a follow-up question, right? So, and we'll see this in the interview as well. Now, below this, you see certain additional questions. These are not used for evaluation, but these are the questions that a recruiter asks, right? How soon can you join? Are you open to working remotely? What is your current compensation? What's your expected comp? Anything that you can think of that the recruiter asks in the first call from a discovery point of view, you can set those up. You will get those separately to kind of filter later, right? So imagine the process where you get 100 candidates applying. You trigger this AI interview for all 100 of them. Now you get a structured score for each of the candidate plus the insights around whatever you set up, right? So that makes your job of moving the pipeline very simple. So let me go ahead and click on Save Changes. Now this will basically create the job, and I will then go ahead and show you a live interview as well. So we'll try and do that. Okay, so now this job is live. This is a unique interview link. If I'm using any other ATS platform already, I can simply send this link to whoever is interested in applying for this role. We have companies who automatically paste this role in the JD itself. So I have this one customer who said, Rohit, I post a job on LinkedIn, I get 1,000 applicants in 5 days. But then in the JD, I put this link as well, how to apply, give your first round of interview using this link. Out of 1,000, less than 300 actually attempt the interview. I don't even look at people who don't even read the JD.
I'm going to do this.
Right? So it makes it so simple to understand the intent of the candidate by doing something
Correct,
so
correct.
simple,
Yeah.
right? Especially if you get a lot of volume of applicants. Now, at any time, you can come back, review the questions, and make changes to the questions. Let's say the first 10 interviews have happened. Now, you can go and show those interviews, the videos to the hiring manager, and the hiring manager might say, hey, let's also ask this question. Let's change this question. So you want to make any changes, you can come back and do that. Here, you can also kind of set up.
Rohit, sorry, one question here. So you have, if you scroll down, you have the tools and the skills. So skills, the questions are basically, that's what you're calling competencies, right? The skills, that's
No, the
what
competencies are defined. The skills could be anything that I want to add. It shows up in the JD, basically, for the candidate.
Is there like the AI is asking you questions on these skills and the tools you're
Absolutely.
using also? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It indexes more if you use the tools that the organization is already using, right? Because familiarity is obviously better for a company as well. In fact, one of the first questions if you see here, there's LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Okay, it's not here, but yeah, you can see Microsoft Excel to track HR metrics. But if I was using any particular tool, I could be here. It's asking what strategies or tools do you use. So here, if I say LinkedIn Sales Navigator, it will give me a relatively higher score versus if I use say some other tool or say I rely on Naukri database, for example, right? Because my talent pool might be on LinkedIn, whatnot. On the right side, you have certain settings. For example, you want the candidate to allow multiple attempts or not. You can customize the application form itself. We also trigger the invitation on email, WhatsApp. They also get a call reminder saying, hey, you've been shortlisted for a role at this particular company. Why don't you attempt the interview? The link is in your email, right? We give the candidate 3 days to complete the interview, basically. And then you can also select multiple interview languages. So today we almost have 11 different languages, including English. So you can, complete your interviews in any of these languages, depending on the company. So I have,
This is interoperable between languages or one language throughout?
So right now, interoperable between English and Hindi only. The other languages are defined, and it happens in those languages. I have customers in the BFSI segment, and they hire a lot in tier 2, tier 3. Like it could be Salem or Vizag or Nellore in Andhra Pradesh, for example. So again, they need a lot of companies in Gujarat want Gujarati as a language to interview, by the way, which is quite interesting, I thought. So yeah, you can set up all of these different languages. You can also assign a recruiter whoever is working on that particular role and so on. So let me copy this interview link. I'm opening a new tab. I hope. Are you able to see this new tab?
It's yeah. It is.
Perfect. So I'll click on Start Interview. Um, Obviously, the very first card we show them is please don't cheat, right? Because it's very important. Don't use AI tools. Don't exit full screen. Don't change tabs, etc., etc. So if you keep looking away from the camera, we track the eye movement, the gaze if they're looking at a secondary screen. So all of that affects the the proctoring score. Basically, we say give a proctoring score separately. Let me click on continue. Ready to showcase your skills. Make sure you have internet. Keep things clear and connected. Create the perfect interview space. Okay, and we again mention it in multiple places, saying you'll be platform banned and so on. I didn't make any of this mandatory, so I can just go ahead with system checks. This should be loud and clear. Okay, were you able to hear her speaking?
Not really.
Okay, then you might not be able to hear the AI interview question. Um, we'll figure that out. I think the audio is not coming through,
Yeah.
the tab audio. Let me click on proceed to interview to show you the interface for now.
Sure.
Okay, so this is how the interface looks for the candidate. So HR executive role at this particular company, start interview. Are you able to hear the interview audio?
Very faintly, but we can.
Hi, my name is Rohit, and I have 5 years of experience with HR roles across two different companies. One was a startup, and the other one was a growth company. I can join in 10 days. No, I prefer working from office. Yes, I have handled end-to-end recruitment process at the startup I was a part of. It was a 50-member startup, and I was the only HR person looking after the entirety of talent acquisition. So this would involve right from job requisition creation all the way till onboarding and candidate hiring. So I have managed end-to-end recruitment processes. Okay, I'll just end the call for now because I don't know if the were you able to hear the
Yeah,
AI?
faintly. Yeah, it is. It's coming.
Okay, fair enough. So it will take a minute or so for the interview to come through. But yeah, essentially what you can the HR person can obviously do a test interview as well. And when you go to view candidates, you'll see that my interview is already here, right? I have scored a 2.7, and hence I'm a poor fit. The default filter for a poor for yeah, the default filter for a poor fit and good fit is 6, which is customizable. So anyone who scores above a 6, we say that you should take a look at that scorecard.
Is
Right?
it scoring like the parameters?
Yeah, it's scoring against the competencies. So here,
Understood.
I obviously just gave one simple answer that I have 5 years of experience and I've handled end to end. And obviously, it was not able to deep dive, but I did get a decent enough score here. And then, of course, there's a weightage as well for each of the competencies, which made my overall score obviously very less, which was just 2.7. If I refresh, it will take some time, but you will see the proctoring uh, details also here. And most likely, I didn't realize, but I was looking at my second screen and answering.
Yeah.
So I
That's
will
what it
have,
is.
yeah, I will have a bad proctoring score. Uh, but you can see that the candidate concluded the interview. There is also an important signal in case if the AI concludes the interview, it would say AI concluded the interview. And then I said I can join in 10 days and that I prefer working in office. So it's being shown in red here. And below this, you have the entire transcript of the interview as well. And we also have questions for next interview because I didn't even answer this question, what recruitment tools I've used. So it's obviously highlighting that. Um, And the hiring manager can also take the interview when they take the interview, which is in-person interview or a virtual interview. They can also add their feedback right here on this page. So this becomes your one candidate evaluation page. We also have assessments, which I will show. It could be an MCQ assessment, communication test, psychometric test. So if any of those have happened, those scores would also be visible right next to these, right? So if I go to dashboard, you can see that in the activity feed, my interviews come up here. And let's see if proctoring has come up. Yeah, medium risk, which is 43%, which is fairly, I would say, in line with what we expected because there's not enough time for the entire. It's just a 1 minute 35 second interview, so it's not like out and out called it. There are some interviews where we see 90%, 94%, and so on. Especially if there are tab switches, window switches that happen, we can't really control the candidates can still switch windows and tabs because in terms of browsers, we can't control the browser itself. We can only monitor the browser, right? Versus, let's say, some of these other entrance exams where you go to different centers and do it. So those are called safe exam browsers. So where we can actually control the entire browser itself. So we could actually do that where we say, okay, download this particular browser and give the interview on this browser. Then we will have browser control too. But that's again an unnecessary step for the candidate. It's too much, right? Too much friction. So we don't do that. So if I go to jobs, if I go to view candidates, the idea is that you start funneling candidates from here, right? So let's say I get 100 resumes. I'll just add a few resumes here. None of these will be relevant resumes because these are mostly sales profiles, and I'm adding them for an HR role. So
But does it do one round of resume based screening also?
yeah, so this is the first step where we give a resume score, right? So I've added 10 resumes, for example, here, and I've gotten a resume score. As I said, most are sales profiles, which is where all of these are, not relevant. So if I go here, it actually shows me a quick preview of the resume as well. And I can open it. These are all AI generated resumes where I've just mentioned that I've been an SDR and these are all sales stuff, right? So the idea is that you have resumes in the prospect section. You can then invite certain candidates based on the resume score to take the AI interview round. And once they take the AI interview round, we automatically classify them as a poor fit or a good fit, right? And then you only need to look at the good fit candidates, essentially. So that's basically what we're trying to do. One of the things that we are going to do next is, and this is a quick revamp of the entire portal which we are launching in a week or so, is the whole job creation process will slightly change. So let's say again I'm hiring for front-end developer. Let's say I want to do a mid-level, 2 to 5 years of experience. So again, JD is there, tools, skills, employee referrals if you're doing anything, setup it. So this configuration will change. So right now, for example, I can configure a screening test as well. So before the AI interview round, I can give an MCQ assessment for the candidate. This is what happens a lot in campuses. So again, a lot of our customers use us for campus, so they wanted this. So here I can basically have a JavaScript fundamental kind of test, right? Or I can choose, this is a default from, it's coming through our library, or I can select a different test as well for this particular role. Okay. The second one would be an audio video interview, which we just did, which is an AI video interview, and then followed by the human interview. I could add a coding interview, for example, right? Or I could add a psychometric test as well. So if I select a coding round, again, I can configure that. I can select the programming language. There will be a problem library. So I can basically select a couple of problem statements and add that. It will round robin them. And again, it's an easy kind of one is an easy problem, one is a medium level problem. I can define the test duration, right? So now, and I can restructure this, right? So the candidate will do an MCQ followed by a coding round, followed by an AI video interview, for example. So the idea is to build different sorts of assessment layers to kind of cut down the number of people that you need to actually look at. And I can daisy chain all of these together. So if I don't clear the coding round, I automatically get rejected at that stage. So if I clear the coding round, I can move to the AI video interview round, right? And similarly, the first step could be the screening round. So the whole idea is in the jobs, let's take another example. You might start with 100, 200 resumes, and you put them through the different stages, and then you're left with the top candidates, and you schedule interviews for only the top candidates, right? And even here, what happens is, let's say there are 10 candidates who are in the good fit section. You invite your hiring manager to the portal. The hiring manager goes through the 10 videos, and the hiring manager might say, hey, out of these 10, let's talk to these three candidates first because I like their answers better, or they have top scored or whatever, right? And most often than not, you will end up making an offer to one of those top three. So even in the good fit section, you can actually, prioritize and basis hiring manager feedback, make it much simpler. So what would take you, say, 4 weeks to complete in terms of closing a position? Now you can pretty much do it in a week. And that's what we're seeing, 70 to 80% reduction in time spent in the hiring process itself. And that's immense. The same study that we discussed some time back, there's a higher chance of a candidate joining. Uh, at least in that study, there was 12% more job starts for people who have gone through an AI round versus a human interview round, which is very interesting as well. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's not just one benefit out of AI interviews and assessment. There's multiple benefits, right? Yeah, job starts increased by almost 18%. This was done by University of Chicago Booth School of Business. AI-led interviews increased job offers by 12%, job starts by 18%, and job retention by up to 4 months, right? Which is crazy, right?
Is that just correlation or causation? We don't know, but
We don't
yeah.
know, but the early signals at least seem very promising, is what I would say.
Hmm.
Obviously, this entire space is probably a year old.
Yeah.
The AI interviewing space,
Yeah.
AI led resume screening is also pretty new, but resume shortlisting by ATS has been around for a while. I don't know if you're aware, then I think in 2015 or 17, Amazon had this huge lawsuit where this is before AI and everything. Do you know about this?
Yeah. 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 The biasness wala also that
The
one.
bias loss, yeah,
Yeah.
they had a bias. They had trained
Yeah.
it on a huge data set of Amazon data itself,
Which are all
and
male something.
male
Yeah.
of a particular demography. And
Yeah.
the AI got trained on biased human data,
Yeah.
obviously, and then it was producing the similar result. It was not called AI at that time, it was just a model, right? Because these were internal models at that time. So I think now the difference is that there are large models. Amazon is large, but in context of LLMs and what is available now, it is
Yeah.
minuscule, right? So I
Yeah.
think now it's much better, and I feel that some of these are going to only improve. Like we've seen rapid improvement in our own product over the last 6 months. So I feel that it's only going to get better and better. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a quick sneak preview. Happy to answer questions, particularly
Oh,
on that.
thanks. That was lovely seeing it. And I think from the lens of folks listening in, tools, if used correctly, give you the right ROI, give you the right results. Tools used in the incorrect context give you actually wrong results, and you end up blaming the tool, whereas the whole blame should have been you in the first place,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
If there are 20 people, then probably not. But if there are like hundreds, as I
Yeah.
remember, Karthik had written a post, 1,000 probably interviews or some crazy number. I think 800 something interviews were done in a day, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're seeing that
Back in
very
the
regularly now. Like we have companies doing three campuses, separate campuses, on the
hmm,
same day.
wow, okay,
That is not possible if you had
yeah,
to do it human led, right? And that's how you
yeah,
leverage these tools, in my opinion.
yeah. And I think we those the narrative around why not to use, if that mindset is there, it'll always win. And for folks listening in, if I think that the right pitch, that one thing we as like other people team we get wrong to, let's say, our CEOs and all, is we try to show products which reduces our time, but that's not a good selling point in my opinion, because you're saying that how will I reduce my work, versus if you say this reduces the time that, let's say, developers are
Yeah,
not taking interviews and actually writing code, that has a significant and direct ROI impact
100%.
on top line and bottom line. right? So
I think
going that route is a better sell.
this is a this is a perennial problem. Like
Hmm.
HRs want to seat at business, but can't articulate
Yeah.
business problem statements.
Yeah.
Like I felt that, to be honest. I mean, if you're able to kind of articulate your pain points, translate it to
Hmm.
business outcomes, you have a better shot at
Yeah.
getting a seat at the table, in my opinion. Because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
basically what business wants at the end of the day. So
Yeah, this was super, super helpful. I want to conclude on a more taking a, far lens out, because I think you're the right person for this. You've done multiple businesses, you've been an HR yourself, and clearly, like, you're in line with tech. What, and let's take the lens of actually with your experience advising, say, someone young who's starting out with what's happening with AI. So, want to understand from you in your lens, where do you see like the real impact of AI for folks listening in, young, a 21-year-old kid listening in, to know that, hey, this is probably not the function I want to start in, or if I start, I'll move out. So let's take like a 5-year horizon. Where do you see AI really, really making crazy impacts in our function?
recently in one of the events, one of the HRs told me like, "Oh, all you AI people will take away our jobs." I think, and I think there's also a real worry that people have. But I don't think it's taking away jobs. It's going to take away tasks, as we discussed,
Mm.
right? Like recruitment coordination, copy paste. So I think embracing AI technology or tools, just the usage of tools, I think is very, very important. I think for now it cannot influence a lot of team dynamics or do conflict resolution, right? Or anything like that, like stakeholder management. So I think those are all things that HRs still have a huge role to play.
Yeah, I think a good way to summarize would be, if you find yourself doing more task than art,
Correct.
then you have a problem and you should try to get more into the art side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that for sure, like, you know, human hardwired regular programming will not go away. We'll still need somebody to talk to, still need the HRBP. You need to confide, you need to conflict resolve, right? But do I really need a team of 5 people doing tasks? Probably not. Cool, Rohit. This was awesome. I leave your links. I leave where people can get in touch with you. You're active on LinkedIn. You're active on the community. I'll leave all of that below. And folks listening in, again, feel free to reach out to Rohit. Rohit does a lot of talks for the Chic of Work community. He's or comes on all of the shows. He gives out a lot of knowledge. So feel free to reach out to him. You'll learn a lot about AI and HR tech. Follow him on LinkedIn and everything that we share. And yeah, thanks, Rohit. Thanks for doing this. This was a lot of fun. I hope folks listening in take away the positives. Take away where, to use AI in the right way. I think that's the overarching message. I think we'll leave people, use AI tools in the right way for the right problems, and keep embracing AI, like you said, because that's a win-win versus saying no, no, I don't use it. Cool. Thank you, Rohit.